to L&L Sports. You're with KC, also known as Khalil Yahakanen. I'm KC Jones, formerly. And this is the L&L Sports Commentary Show. I need to introduce myself to the community once again. I've been here for a while making shorts and things like that, but now I'm here full time, and I'm somewhat serious about this endeavor, right? So we're going to be talking about combat sports, boxing, and MMA. So first, man, let me just go ahead and tell a brief story about myself so you guys can get a feel for who I am. I first got the idea to do this when I seen Boxing Eagle a long time ago, and I thought he was really silly, and I didn't want to like the guy. But then I listened to him, and man, what he was saying, I was like, wow, this guy really knows his boxing, because I had been following boxing again too after a brief period when boxing died. I wasn't a big fan, but then I came into the UFC and started patronizing the UFC, and that brought me back into boxing. I think when Javante started making noise is when I really perked up. So I've been around for a while, consistently, weekend after weekend, viewing combat sports. So shout out to the boxing community out there, man. It's really unprecedented. I just want to give a shout out to all you guys, man. Heavy Bag, man. Even Woog, what's good, Woog? I've been listening to him. Champ Side, I've been listening to Champ Side. Ego, I've been listening to everybody, you know, and I learn a lot from all you guys, man. And thing is I'm very instinctual when it comes to the fighting game, to the combat game. But when it comes to the stats, man, I really depend on you guys, man, to do the research that you guys do. So you guys are doing good, man, on your channels. Shout out to Showbiz the Adult, man. I just watched a video of his that had 40K views, which is pretty unprecedented for a boxing channel in our community, okay? He also got something going with the War Room on DAZN. So that's really unprecedented, man, and it's really inspiring, since he was the one that inspired me to come on here and start talking about the sport that I love. I'm really not making a living doing this, man, so I really can't afford to come on every week after week, but I do try to show up every week. So we needed to do some updates and stuff like that. I wanted to come on here, but I had a lot of things going. So we're going to just go ahead and look at the last week or two, I think, and then catch us up to date up to last night with Mike Tyson. Yeah, so we should go ahead and talk about the Enes Chukajan fight. Yeah, Enes got a lot of criticism for that fight, but we'll get to that, man. I just want to talk about some things on that card also. Let's look at that undercard right quick. I don't remember very much of Garrido and Williams and Ford versus Ruiz, probably because I was going back and forth between the UFC and this card, but who I made sure that I saw was the Guevara Rodriguez fight, Bam Rodriguez, and the Enes Chukajan fight. All right, so let's talk about it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, man. Bam Rodriguez, I hadn't seen a lot of fights, but I had heard the hype on him, and I couldn't wait to see this guy perform. So in that fight, man, the way he moved up on Guy and threw that close-in uppercut like that, that was some old school Jack Dempsey, Rocky Marciano stuff right there. And he showed me, man, that he is one of the top dogs in that weight class for sure. So, you know, it was good to see him for the first time live, and he finished that fight quick. Now, I just want to add this about Enes. I've heard everybody's take on Enes, and so it's negative. But this is my philosophy. When I started making these videos and started talking about my theory, which is brawling versus the hit and not get hit style. It's my opinion that the hit and not get hit style is being evolved out, and traditional old school brawling will, I believe, become the champions, because they're coming in there with the intent to take their opponent out, not to win a decision by outpointing and maneuvering and dodging and ducking, but actually bringing the fight. All right, such as a Mike Tyson, such as a Gervonta Davis. I decided that I believe that the fighters that will be the champions have to be battle tested. In other words, they have to have their chin tested. It's almost like a car, man. Before you take it to a high-powered race, you want to break it in first and get it ready. I believe that fighters that don't get their chin tested soon enough, when they do get their chin tested, they might not be able to deal with it. Now, I believe that Jerron just happens to be this old school type of fighter who just likes to brawl. And he can take it, and he's got a phenomenal chin. And I do believe that he will hear the criticism, and everybody has pointed back to his previous fights where he was the maneuvering guy, throwing the shots from all angles and not taking the shots because you get criticized for taking shots. But I just want to turn that into a positive and go, I know that Boots is battle tested. I know his chin has been tested. So I know that he can endure a very tough battle. That's just my take on Ennis. He's still my guy. Excuse me. I also want to say how proud I am of the sport of boxing. I've been hearing the conversation that boxing is dead for a long time. And if you witnessed that fight card this weekend, it was nothing but nonstop action. So I was gonna do a whole separate video on the MMA versus boxing in terms of excitement. Boxing can compete with MMA if only we get the right bouts televised. We're talking nonstop action. We're not talking about two guys standing in front of each other for 12 rounds, bouncing up and down, throwing occasional jab or overhand right every now and then. We're talking about straight up combat that rivals the UFC. Those guys only get 3 rounds, man, to get you out of there. And they're pretty successful at doing that. So that's what makes it super exciting. But when you get the right fighters, man, in boxing, you get that excitement that you get from watching the UFC. So I do cover both sports, and it's not always easy. That's why I can't be here every day for numbers, to try to get numbers. I really have to concentrate on the events. So let's go ahead and look at that card, man, see what I can remember about it. I had it pulled up here. Davis, Keyshawn Davis is undercard. Now, we saw all 3 Davis brothers, right? But I was there to see Keyshawn, and I was there to see Abdullah Mason. All right. Abdullah Mason got tested and responded superbly. He responded superbly with the stoppage knockout. Keyshawn did his thing. He got a stoppage. But the brother to watch is the one who debuted. He seemed in full control of that fight, even all the way down to the knockdown in the last couple minutes that pretty much secured the fight for him. He was in total control of that fight from start to finish. The other brother's okay too. But Keyshawn and Abdullah Mason, I was there to watch. For some reason, man, the streams cut out Shushu Carrington's fight from last night. So the last 7 to 10 days, I was there to watch Keyshawn Davis, Abdullah Mason, Bruce Carrington. The only person that was missing from that group that I've got my eyes on was Moulton. Right. The Davis understudy, Kermel Moulton. Those are the fighters that I've got my eyes on because they seem to be the guys that will be the champions in their respective, and it looks promising. So yeah, I was able to see that, and they all pretty much did their thing. Pretty much, none of them got upset or hurt or stopped, except for Abdullah Mason got dropped twice, which I'm sure surprised a lot of people. Back to the drawing board. I was discussing, man, at least I tried to have a discussion with What's Good Wood on Keyshawn Davis, and his take was that Keyshawn was going to have his hands full that night. But if you watch Keyshawn Davis's last fight, the guy he was fighting was considerably bigger and stronger and never stopped coming at Keyshawn. And Keyshawn figured out a way to win that fight. I thought that was the biggest challenge of his career. Then I said to myself, I think Keyshawn can put it together now and actually stop people because he's seen everything he needed to see in that fight. So the prediction was that from my guy Wood was that the fight would go the distance and probably be a decision. And I was like, no, Keyshawn know how to stop guys now. He had his biggest challenge. He had a guy bigger than him, weighed more than him, was coming at him and never stopped and was clocking that dude. So I knew he was ready for that knockout, and that's what he got. So last night, man, we saw the Mike Tyson undercard. Let's see that fight. The Amanda Serrano fight, the Kate Taylor, Amanda Serrano, man, that fight was off the chain, man. Shout out to Katie Taylor, man, who wouldn't just take an ass whooping. She kept rallying back. Now, Serrano was more accurate with her punches, and she was very consistent with her combinations. Katie Taylor's been criticized for headbutting and using her head, but as I studied her, that's not something that she does intentionally. She's just not a coordinated fighter. She fights head first. And unless you know how to defend that, then you might get cut due to a headbutt. But I didn't see her intentionally trying to use her head to hurt anybody. She's just clumsy like that. So who else? And then before that, was that the Barrios fight? Yeah, that was the Barrios fight. Barrios got pieced up, man. Did you see his face was swollen up? He barely won that fight. Yeah, man. So so yeah, listen. My purpose in this game, y'all see me struggling on this first show. It's gonna be all over YouTube, right? You don't know shit about boxing, that's what's gonna happen. But here's the thing. I got interested in this sport because I was watching a lot. And after years and years of watching a lot, I said, and when I seen Showbiz, the adult, I said to myself, how can I monetize what I'm doing? Because I'm watching this stuff constantly. And I pretty much know fighters in every weight class in the boxing and UFC. So this was my idea, was to just talk about the sport that I love, which I really do love, combat. But this is where I come in. I can't come in and get 40K views and all that kind of stuff. I can't come in and profess to know as much as a lot of boxing analysts and commentators and channel operators do. What can I do though? My whole thing is when I first came into this, I started picking pay-per-views and I noticed that I was real good at picking the winners because I've been watching them. Everybody that I picked to be champions are now champions. That's how I started out. So basically, man, I'm trying to focus on the bettors in the sport of combat. Because when it comes to those fights, I'm gonna tell you who can perform and who can't, who's all talk and who's not, who means what they say, because every fighter is trained to get up in front of a mic and go, I believe that I'm the best in the world. All y'all can't be the best. And then, judging from your last fight, you got knocked out, so how you the best? So anyway, man, where I come in, man, is I can tell you truth from fiction. Let's just take, for instance, and I'll run the footage in a minute. Last night, before Mike Tyson's fight, I really logically thought about what would happen in that fight. And I knew everybody was sentimental about Mike being that guy. And I'm like, I'm in the gym myself. And sometimes just moving around the house, I stumble moving back. That's where the issue is in moving back. Older people can't move back as fast as they used to because they don't have that rip in their legs. I said in the video, it's gonna come down to the feet. And if you watch that fight, I called it. I said, I'm sorry, guys, but this is not Mike's night. Mike couldn't even throw a punch. All right, man. This is for my bettors out there, man. My top bettors. Listen, a couple minutes before the Tyson fight, right? I'm just making this video. I'll probably end up highlighting it on one of my joints. But a 50-year-old man, it's gonna come down to the feet. Mike won't be able to keep up with his feet. Like, he won't be able to move them fast enough. When you get to be that age, that's the thing that goes is your legs, right? The power might be there, but he might not be able to utilize that power because of the foot speed between the two men. Not taking nothing away from Tyson, the legend, but according to the science, this is a young man's sport, man, and I don't think we've ever seen this. This is unprecedented, ain't it? A 57-year-old in the ring? This is a sanctioned fight. But it's not going to happen tonight, people. Casey Jones, Illinois Sports, that's all I got. Toward the end of the fight, he was just lucky to be there still, and he was still trying to do his moves, which I thought, man, that's too much movement, dude. You should just slow down and try to time this dude coming in, slow that motion down and conserve that energy, because y'all see how he came out? If Mike could have fought like he did in the first round, if he could have fought that way through the whole fight, he could have knocked Jake Paul out. Me and my girl was laughing because we both looked at it and said, how long you think he gonna be able to keep that up? She goes, that's probably it. I said, yeah, I think you're right. In round two, it was over. He was still able to do the move, but he couldn't put the punches in with the moves. And it broke my heart to see such a great fighter not being able to do what he did best. They made him a legend. That was the sad part, but I always look at things from the positive side. Mike Tyson was doing something unprecedented for a group of people, which I'm saying I think Black people can take a lot of credit in knowing that 50, what is he, 54, 55, 56? I've heard from 54 to 58. He's near 60 to get in the ring and compete with a young man. But the only thing I gotta say is I think that thing was rigged from the start, not in a illegal way, but I think they had an agreement with each other, to have a civil fight. And I saw Jake Paul, because every time Mike would try to push his mouthpiece back in, Jake Paul wouldn't swing. He waited for Mike pushed his teeth back in, and then he would punch. So he let Mike off the hook. He could have easily knocked Mike out. Mike's feet weren't there. They weren't there. If he would have rushed Mike to go back, Mike probably would have fell down. But I want to talk about that for a minute, man, because I've had a lot of people, when it comes to age, that's what's messed up about America, man. America got a lot of isms and schisms. And one thing that I don't like about the country that I love and live in, I don't even love it that much, but I am a proud guy, man. Y'all can see I'm a vet, right? So I got blood vested. I was born here. I'm native. So was my mom. Man, this country, man, is really prejudiced against elderly folks, older folks, right? I've had quite a few people over the past couple years or so really harp in on me personally about my age. And I'll challenge anybody to anything. Foot race, you want to lift weights, you want to box, you want to go anything. You want to go mental gymnastics, anything, any age. I will. That's how I am. I'm competitive like that. I was competitive in my youth. I boxed and played basketball. I swam and I ran. 6'3", 179 pounds coming into the Navy. I was a beast man out there, and I still am a beast. That's why I stay in the gym. I'm 67 years old, right? And I'm just tired of the bias when it comes to age, like, right? We all got a cycle. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. I've been on the deathbed 4 times, yes. And I've looked death in the face, and yes, I'm terrified sometimes at night because I don't know what's behind the veil. I've heard a lot, but it's debatable. But at the same time, and that's where your courage has to get built, because when that time comes, you're gonna have to man up and go, okay, I can go. I can let go now. Cause this is a beautiful life, man. That's what the hard part is. Put me on a boat on the ocean, man, I am in heaven. I'm like, I don't never want to leave this place. If you can give me this view out here on this boat all the way up until I'm 150, I take it. But we all leave here, man, somewhere between 70 and 100. And you got to go. Everybody, not even listen, y'all young folks, y'all gonna come at me because I'm doing what I do. Y'all gonna go sit down, old man, and all that. Man, come on, man. We ain't hearing that on this channel. We came over here to discuss combat sports, and I don't want to know how much anybody knows more than the other. The only thing we all know is when those two fighters enter the octagon or the ring, what they bring to the table then. They can't bring no stats with them. They can't bring none of that. They got to bring what they got with them right there at the moment. And I'm there for every one of those moments. So I was just talking about picking because my main objective, because I'm coming into some, and I'm gonna have a bet fund. You better believe because I've been watching too long, and I know who the champions and the winners are. I know who can endure. I know who's just talking, who's just faking. And when these big fights go to happen on this channel right here, if y'all want to drop some dollars and make some bucks, we're gonna do it together because I'm posting the picks and everything like that, just like Showbiz do. I think he's with my bookie or something like that. I'm gonna be hooked up. That's America. U.S. boxing is so good that we can actually come up if we smart about it. Did y'all hear what I just said? This ain't me and about those lights and all that. And this is about okay. These fighters are fighting on this card. I know these fighters right here gonna win. Let me see what kind of odds I can get out of this. That's the deal, folks. That's the deal. That's the basic whole deal. But at the same time, I love the sport. But the lead up, so I can't have all those false narratives in between fights. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk about Javante not fighting quality opponents and avoiding all of the major fighters and all that kind of stuff. This is a conversation that can never end because all we ever have is opinions. And those are like a-holes, right? Everybody's got one. And they ain't never finna give or relent on what they believe and feel. And you're erroneous to give up what you believe and feel, but what you believe and feel should be rooted in facts and truth, right? Universal truths. What am I talking about? It's my opinion, man, that anybody in the world today between, I would probably say 145 down to 130, Tank knocks them all out, any of them. And in those weight classes, champions or not. So it doesn't matter who he fought. I just know what I'm looking at when I see this man perform. I'm looking at probably the best fighting machine that we have on the planet right now in terms of boxing rules. Because MMA is different than boxing. You don't get to use your knees and your feet and your elbows. You can only use these right here. And he, I believe, is probably the most efficient at that. Kind of him and Terrence, like machines. But that's just my opinion, right? So we can have that conversation forever, and people will disagree with that. But this is where I am. I just explained it to y'all. Wait till the time come when the fight happens. Then I want to hear what you got to say. That's all I got, man. I can think I might have us caught up a little bit. Tonight we got, man. Okay, so tonight we got John Jones and Stipe Miocic. Right now, I got to say something about that. First of all, John Jones. My name's Casey Jones. When I listen to a Jones go in front of the camera and they ask John, so after this fight, man, do you have any intentions on maybe trying to fight Tom? You know what this man said? He goes, if I continue to fight, it's a possibility. And then he just skirted the idea off. Why are you afraid to fight Tom Aspinall? Now I know as a 6'3" heavyweight myself, I know why I would be afraid to fight Tom. Because he's immensely big and he's fast like a damn middleweight. Strong as a bull. I mean, and if you're trying to get out of this thing with your legacy, he would be the absolutely wrong guy to test because he's fighting on a different level than you. You're going to go in and try to wrestle him. He might be able to stop your takedowns. You don't know, but you won't try and we'll never know unless you decide, I'm going to fight some real competition. Look at the guys that he's choosing to fight. He's bigger than all of them, and he can out-wrestle all of them. Now he's got his eyes set on Pereira. Not only does he want legacy, he wants the bag too. Pereira ain't no challenge for him. Pereira ain't no natural heavyweight. He got to be a little bit oversized, man, to compete. John is huge. Now let me give y'all a prediction for this fight since this is for my bettors out there. This video might not be done today because I got to edit it all down before 8 o'clock. That's going to be hard. I don't know if I can do it. I'm going to try. But John goes out there and slaps Stipe around like he was a rag doll. Point blank. It's hard to find somebody that can wrestle with John Jones. And now I'm going to say this about John. John ain't brawled nobody. He ain't had no stand-up combat with nobody since they started piecing him up. Y'all remember when that dude from Brazil and also that Hispanic brother, that Mexican brother out of California, they was piecing John up. John was getting hit a lot. John said, F this. I ain't finna be getting just pieced up. I'm taking you down and I'm finishing the fight. And that's what he's been doing ever since. And that's the kind of fights that he's looking for. He ain't looking for no battle, which is why we might never see the Tom Aspinall fight between John Jones. Man, everything shows up on camera, don't it? So how y'all doing out there, my people? How am I doing so far? I'm doing okay? All right, so, okay, let me discuss that card a little bit. The undercard. All right. I think the undercard is going to actually be the main event. And boy, y'all can see my age is starting to tell me, man. I can't remember. Is it 308? UFC 308? Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. Let's just go down it, man. Wow, that's a hard pick for me right there because both of those guys are on my favorite list. Michael Chandler seems to fight unhinged sometime and not using his full head. Charles Oliveira is coming off a long layoff somewhat. Charles has the skills to defeat Chandler, as we've seen before. But sorry, I'm thinking in my head, I'm not looking at the camera. But Chandler is a physical specimen. We don't know about his ability to learn and adapt because he just hasn't had enough fights. Now, we know where Charles is at. The guy is up there in terms of submission and everything like that. And he got ways to get you out of there. All I can say is based on the fact that Michael Chandler has been on a 2-year layoff training And that's all he's been doing. And he ain't been fighting. He's been training, trying to get ready for Conor McGregor, and Conor stiffed him. If I had to put money on it, I would have to favor Chandler for this fight. I don't know where Oliveira's heart is anymore because he has been challenged. He lost to uh Makachev, is it? Yeah. But he had some major losses when he was champion. He's trying to get back to that championship. That's my main event right there. Oh, Bo Nickel and Paul Craig. I don't see Paul Craig being I don't see Paul Craig being competition at all. Bo Nickel is on the rise, trust me, as a fighter in the UFC. And I mean fighter. Wow, what a card. They got Chris Weidman doing his retirement run. Oh, Jim Miller's on the card. Jim Miller. The most wins in the UFC, Jim Miller. Let's see who else of significance that we need to watch on that card. Nobody that I can see. But the thing about the UFC is every card always has somebody who's of note that we really need to pay attention to. So what I'm going to start doing on the show is I'm going to note those two fighters from every card and go, we got to keep our eyes on these two fighters. So when they show up again on our card, we know what kind of fighter that we got and how to pick. All right, man. I'm gonna go ahead and sign out, man. I didn't think I'd be able to get this done in one take. Subscribe to the channel. Look forward to seeing me talking about this stuff. Have a great time here. It's good to meet you guys. For any returning people, you guys get to see and meet me here for the first time. And let's go. Combat sports all the way. Here we go, baby. We about to have some years of great combat. Peace and love to you all. I'm out.